All right, Reagan. So you think Steph Curry is a top 10 player of all time. And honestly, I'm not going to argue that too much because Steph Curry is lethal. Steph Curry's won titles. He's the greatest shooter of all time. But when you were on your podcast, you said that you would put Steph Curry over Kevin Durant. And I disagree. So I want to debate you on this a little bit. So I'm going to go first. I'm on the Kevin Durant side. And look, I'm not going to be super duper mad at you if you put Curry over Durant, but you're bugging on the low. And I'll tell you why. Who's bigger? Durant. Who's got more scoring titles? Who's got more scoring titles? Durant. Who's the better rebounder? Durant. Who's more efficient? Durant. Who's the better defender? Durant. And when we talk about Kevin Durant, the biggest knock on him is that he blew that 3-1 lead versus the Warriors. And I will admit that happened. Not gonna sugarcoat that. I do think that Russell Westbrook contributed to that as well, but Kevin Durant, he's got to hold that L too. But Steph Curry, let's not absolve him of what he's done. He blew a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals, and while you can say, oh, Kevin Durant choked, he lost to that 73-win Warriors team. Guess what? That team won 73 games. So was Kevin Durant supposed to win that series? I mean, I think most people favor Golden State. I do. And Steph Curry, he didn't play so well in the NBA Finals once LeBron James had Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving all healthy. I didn't see the same Steph Curry that was the unanimous MVP. I'm just saying. And Kevin Durant led his team to the NBA Finals at age 23 years old. People forget that. They forget that. Now, he lost to that Miami Heat team. I think that OKC team was not quite ready to win a title because, let's be real, after LeBron James choked to the Dallas Mavericks, that guy was, he was after everybody the next year. If he had lost the NBA Finals to a 23-year-old Kevin Durant, oh man, that'd be bad for his legacy. Okay, and he's already got that bad choke job. So I don't knock Kevin Durant too much for losing in that finals just simply because he got there. Steph Curry, meanwhile, at 23 years old, while Kevin Durant was getting to NBA Finals, he was missing the playoffs and averaged 14.7 points per game. And a lot of injuries contributed to the downfall of OKC. There were some trades, that James Harden trade, that OKC got hosed in. And we can also attribute Scott Brooks and Billy Donovan and their lack of coaching adjustments to why things potentially didn't work in OKC. Sometimes Scott Brooks was not the best as far as getting, the whole team involved. Not great as far as implementing the creative offense, the ball movement. Same with Billy Donovan, a rookie head coach. And Russell Westbrook, he's very talented, but Russell Westbrook, as far as his turnovers go, as far as his inconsistent shooting at times, I think that held KD back a little bit. When Steph Curry got Steve Kerr as his head coach, he took off. If you give Kevin Durant a Steve Kerr and that OKC team, maybe the roles are switched. That's all I'm going to say there. In the playoffs, I'm sorry, got to take KD over Steph. Kevin Durant has led the NBA playoffs in scoring 4 different times. And when Kevin Durant was on the Warriors, you know who the best player was? It was Kevin Durant, not Steph Curry. I'm sorry if that hurts Warriors fans' feelings. And again, I'm a Kevin Durant fan, so, I supported the Warriors for a little while. But either way, Kevin Durant was the guy that took those shots in LeBron's face. And I believe J.R. Smith's face in game number 3 of the second finals, which he won. He was the guy that hit the clutch shots. And are we sure that if they don't have Kevin Durant, they don't become a dynasty? Are we sure the NBA would have not caught up to the Warriors? I think Kevin Durant extended that dynasty. And Steph Curry, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Can we knock Steph Curry a little bit for saying, hey, I'm a great player, but I had to have Kevin Durant come to my team, and I'm not even the best player on that team anymore. So, LeBron, but real quick, I'm just going to bring up this one last point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Kevin Durant was giving LeBron James 35, 7, and 5 in those finals. He was undisputably the best player in those finals. Steph Curry, at times you can marginalize him a little bit, get a little physical with him, put long, lengthy defenders on him. He's not the same player at times. And dare I say, if they had Kevin Durant in that Raptors series, would they have won the finals? I think so. So, why do you have Curry over Durant?
All right, here's the thing, man. And I just brought this up in the Bill Russell debate, right?
Oh, boy.
We're talking about the greatest players of all time.
Okay.
And when I think about greatness, I think about legacy. And when I think about legacy, I think about the compilation of accolades, impact, and talent. I'm weighing all 3 of those things equally. And when it comes to talent, I'm not even going to dispute you. Kevin Durant is a far more talented basketball player than Stephen Curry. Kevin Durant is one of the most talented, physically gifted basketball players that we've ever seen in basketball history. I'll concede that.
I think he's top 3 as far as ability.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's no doubt up there. So let's look at the accolades. Kevin Durant has 4 more All-Star berths. He has the Rookie of the Year. He has more All-NBA nods. But with that, Stephen Curry's reached the pinnacle more in terms of he has 1 more championship and he has 1 more MVP and he has the only unanimous MVP in NBA history. So I call that a wash. Honestly, given that, you can say that Kevin Durant has more accolades, but Stephen Curry has more quality accolades than Kevin Durant. However, when we approach impact, when we start talking about what is the impact that you had on the game of basketball, you can make an argument that Stephen Curry, there's no player in NBA history that's ever had more of an impact, with the exception of probably Michael Jordan and LeBron James, that's never had more of an impact on basketball than Stephen Curry. We've seen this dude single-handedly usher in this new era of three-point-oriented, space-oriented, movement-oriented basketball, man. Single-handedly, he has changed the trajectory of the way basketball is played. And I say in terms of impact, in terms of culture, it goes to Jordan and LeBron, obviously. But when it goes in terms of how basketball is actually played, I'm not sure there's a more impactful player in NBA history than Stephen Curry. So, because they kind of have a washout when it comes to accolades, and even though KD is more talented than Stephen Curry, because Steph's impact on the game of basketball was so profound, I give the slight edge to Stephen Curry. Now, here's the thing. Yeah, I can say that, and I know you probably need a little bit more because not everyone looks at greatness in the same way that I look at greatness. So we talk about, the story of Kevin Durant joining that Warriors team. It's a pretty simple question, man. Who needed who? Who needed who more? When we look at KD pre-Steph, he was an MVP, all-world talent, but at the end of the day, that Golden State Warriors team, that was the barrier that he couldn't overcome. He could not overcome getting past that Warriors team. Pre-KD, who was Steph? 2-time MVP, unanimous MVP, NBA Finals championship, coming off the best regular season in NBA history. Who came, head hung, hands in their pockets, looking down, hey, Steph, can I come to y'all? Y'all look like y'all...
Draymond was crying a little bit, but go ahead, yep.
Draymond had to do a little bit of begging, but here's the thing. KD went to Steph, and that's an indictment on Kevin Durant. If you can't establish it where you're at, and you have to go hop on the bandwagon of something that Stephen Curry essentially established himself, you tell me who's the greater player, man. And you brought up, how Kevin Durant elevated those teams. Those teams would not have been. Let me just put it like this: if you take Stephen Curry off of those teams versus if you take Kevin Durant off those teams, give me the teams with Stephen Curry on them all day long. Because Stephen Curry was the ultimate engine that propelled that Warriors system forward. When we think about the way that the Warriors played basketball, it was a very space-oriented game. And the reason that there was so much space to operate with on the court is because, do you know the concept of gravity, of player gravity?
Yeah, I get a good idea.
So like the gravity that Stephen Curry carried with him, essentially, what I'm saying is anywhere where Stephen Curry is on the court, essentially once he passes half court, you have to account for that dude wherever he is on the court. And that is the reason why we saw Draymond Green be able to have such an important role in the pick and roll game, why we saw Klay Thompson get so many wide open threes. And Stephen Curry is a guy that moved about as well as anyone has ever moved off of the ball. So when you have to account for that dude scurrying around the court all of the time for the entirety of the 48 minutes of the game, that's the engine that really made the Warriors go. So yeah, Kevin Durant was a talented player. He was this 7-footer dude with the handles that could shoot from 35 feet out. But it's easy to disregard that 6'3" dude scurrying around, but I'm telling you, man, that was the dude that was really making everything go. And you can make the argument that when push came to shove and it came to the clutch moments, KD was the ultimate thing that put them over the top. I'll concede that argument because Kevin Durant is a more clutch player than Stephen Curry. However, You don't get to those clutch moments to begin with without the value that Stephen Curry brings to the court. That impact is why he's greater than Kevin Durant.
I got a little mini rebuttal. I'm not going to argue about Steph Curry's overall impact, just simply because, like you said, he's arguably the most impactful player, just as far as basketball goes, maybe ever. But let's not act like Kevin Durant didn't have a little bit of an impact either. You know, you look at centers and 6'9" and 6'10" guys. Ever since Kevin Durant stepped foot on that court, everyone that's at his height, around like 6'10", 6'9", 6'11", even some 7-footers. You look at Bobo. They're trying to be like KD. And you look at some college coaches in the NCAA, some of these college coaches simply just do not want back to the basket players anymore. Okay? As far as big men, you at least need to be able to handle the ball a little bit, be able to at least knock down a mid-range shot. And you can point to Steph Curry as far as the evolution of the game, no doubt. But as far as people coming up, they're honestly trying to be like KD if they're around 7 foot, 6'10", or things of that nature. So while Curry may have had more of an overall impact, I think Durant's impact is more underrated than people would get. It's more underrated, I would say. Yeah, it's underrated. And again,
here's the thing with Kevin Durant's impact, though, versus Stephen Curry's impact. And the reason why Stephen Curry's impact, to me, is far greater and really doesn't even compare is because what Stephen Curry did, that's repeatable. The reason why Kevin Durant's impact can only go so far is really because Kevin Durant is such a special player. There's no, regardless of how tall you are, there's a rare human being that's able to manipulate their body the way that Kevin Durant is able to at his height. That's not something that, any 7-footer can just go out and do, but any team, can work on their shooting. Any team can say, we're going to move off of the ball. Any team can, you know what I mean? Stephen Curry, we've seen the impact already disseminate into the NBA because what he did and what the Warriors did, that's repeatable. They essentially, they revolutionized something when it came to basketball. KD didn't really revolutionize anything because he's such a individually talented player that you can't really repeat that unless you're maybe like a Monty Bates or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's not really so much of an impact because it's not repeatable with KD. What we have with Stephen Curry, that's repeatable. So that's my rebuttal there.
And I go back to who would I rather have? I'm starting a franchise. I'd rather have KD. I'm sorry. I know Steph Curry is
I'm with you, man. I would rather have KD too because he's the ultimately more talented player.
And I've seen Steph Curry be marginalized by longer defenders. And when you get a little physical with him, he's not the same Steph Curry. You can't take Kevin Durant out of the game, honestly. I mean, you hope he misses. I mean, even back when he played Miami in the finals, the guy averaged 30 points on LeBron James' head as a 23-year-old. Now, he may have not been there in the more clutcher moments because he was still, getting his feet wet as far as the big moment goes, but I don't know, man. I just think that Kevin Durant, some people are making the argument he's arguably the best player in basketball, maybe potentially. He's at least top 3 right now. I think that he's just a more better overall individual player. I think it's honestly robbery that he hasn't gotten at least some talk for an all-defensive team. He should at least get an all-defensive third team. I mean, come on, NBA writers. What are we doing here? He's played really good defense. He's very underrated as a defender. I mean, Steph Curry's led the league in steals, I think like once or twice, but I think that I'd take Kevin Durant's defense over Steph Curry's defense. And again, I get the argument, but I gotta take Durant.
That's not really my point here. Is because as far as individual talent goes, it's not even a question. Kevin Durant is one of the, if not the most talented players to ever step foot on.
You value the legacy part more.
It's the legacy that really, and Kevin Durant still has a lot of time and space to improve upon his legacy. So this isn't the end all be all. But in terms of the legacy and the impact that Stephen Curry has already had on the game, when you tell the story of the NBA, and my kids asking me, 20 years down the line, whenever I have my kids, Dad, why do we play basketball like that? Stephen Curry. When we talk about he literally is the reason why teams play basketball the way that they do, we're talking about name it levels of the impact here. When we talk about literally changing the trajectory of basketball history in terms of the way teams function as a unit, that's Stephen Curry, man. That, to me, when you go that far as to affect the game, that's about as valuable as you can be. That's why I always carry so much weight for Magic. That's why Magic still edges out Curry in terms of the point guards to me, because Magic made the game, he made it popular to play with a lot of tempo. It was a very slow game before where it was a lot of back to the basket. Magic had this game where we had the space, we had the movement, and we're moving the ball around, and we're getting up and down this court as fast as possible. I mean, and then Stephen Curry was the next evolution of that. So that's why I still have Magic up there, because of the impact that he's had on the way basketball is being played. To me, that's the greatest impact that any player can have on basketball, with the exception of Michael Jordan, because of what he did for it culturally. If you change the way the game is played, you gotta be up there, man.
I can understand your argument, but I still gotta go Durant for all the reasons I said. But either way, thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I currently am a freshman there right now. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.